I thought I had finally found my Prince Charming after 2 years of being single. But what happened in that hotel room left me questioning everything I thought I knew about intimacy and relationships. Today I can laugh about this whole situation that I'm about to share with you, but I need to tell you that on the day everything happened, I felt so frustrated, so worthless, like I was nothing. I felt like a woman who scored 0 out of 10. But today I understand that it wasn't my fault. It was his problem, only his. And the mistake was that he didn't share this problem with me beforehand. But don't go anywhere before I finish this story, because what happened next will shock you even more, and you'll understand why this experience taught me the most important lesson about communication in relationships. Before I continue with my story, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share this video, because stories like this need to be heard. Let me start from the beginning. I'm 38 years old, and I separated from my husband when I was 32. After my separation, I spent 2 whole years without getting involved with anyone. 2 years without kissing, without making love, without anything. Can you imagine? Until I thought to myself, I'm still young. I want to live life. I want to have fun. I want to date. I want to kiss. I want someone special by my side. It didn't need to be anything serious. I wasn't looking for marriage at first, but I wanted to occasionally have someone to cuddle with. That's when I started allowing myself to meet new people. I began going out more, started traveling, began taking better care of myself. It was precisely on a day trip I took with my cousin that I met this man. Let's call him John. John was an older gentleman, almost 50 years old, but he was incredibly fit. He worked out regularly, and his body was so well maintained that when you looked at him, you would give him no more than 40 years of age. The man was completely toned, defined, very well groomed, always smelled amazing, and when you looked at him you'd say, wow, this guy screams wealth because he dressed well, wore good sneakers, good shoes, and seemed to be in perfect health. During this trip, we started exchanging glances. He was in the same group as us, and conversation after conversation. When it got to a certain time, I was sitting at the bar with some girls, when suddenly the waiter came over and brought me a drink with a note. It was from this charming older man. He left a cute little message with his phone number, and I was thinking, should I text him or not? My cousin was putting pressure on me, looked around discreetly, and said the guy was gorgeous, and that I should give him a chance. And that's how everything began. The trip ended. He lived in a neighborhood close to mine. We started talking a lot, started going out. He invited me to the movies, invited me to dinner out. He was that man I thought, my God, he's a prince. He even opened the car door for me, gave me gifts. He was always that man with good conversations. You know that type of man who doesn't talk nonsense, always has something intelligent to bring to the conversation? My God, I was enchanted. We started dating. Well, at our age, this whole dating thing doesn't really apply. But anyway, it was that romantic relationship, nothing too serious. 1 month, 2 months, almost 3 months. I got to know his house, met some of his friends, even went to the gym where he worked out. He was obsessed with fitness and even gave me many tips about it. He also got to know my house, met my friends, and we were getting closer and closer. But there was something that I confessed to you that I found strange. We had been dating for almost 3 months, going out, being romantic, and we still hadn't done that delicious thing. You know what I'm talking about. And I often felt that desire. I was climbing the walls. My God, so much time without being with a man, and suddenly we'd have those amazing kisses. He'd hold me tight, had that passionate grip, but I didn't feel him with all that fire. I didn't feel him aroused, you know? And he never gave any indication that he wanted to make love with me. On one hand, I thought he was very respectful. He's a different man from these young guys. In his time, everything worked differently. But I was so eager. It had been over 2 months, and nothing. Could there be something wrong with me? Doesn't he feel desire or attraction for me? What's happening? My God, I started getting confused, but I didn't have the courage to approach him and ask. I don't know. I felt embarrassed to go to the man and say, "So when is this going to happen? I'm eager, my dear. I'm climbing the walls. Are we just going to stick to little kisses and hugs?" I thought about this, but I couldn't say it to him. In my mind, this should be the guy's role. I know nowadays it's different, but in my head, he had to make the first move regarding this. But time passed, and nothing happened. Can you believe that until then I had never slept at his house, nor had he slept at mine? Sometimes when I invited him with this thought in mind, he always gave some excuse. Many times he would stay at my house until dawn watching TV with me. I'd fall asleep on the couch. He'd wake me up to say he was leaving. I didn't understand why he couldn't sleep there. I respected this until at 3 months. Already very upset. I had already talked to a friend about it. I think this friend commented something to her boyfriend who was friends with my guy. I don't know. She said no, but I think yes. And he suddenly came to me and said he was waiting for us to get to know each other as much as possible, so he could invite me to sleep away from home. He wanted to do something very different, very special. That he was a very gentleman-like man who didn't put sex as a priority. He liked to go step by step. In this conversation, I started smiling again. Deep down, I was happy. I thought, thank God, he's so wonderful. I was even embarrassed that I had thought otherwise. This man invited me to a farm hotel. He knew I was passionate about the countryside and animals, and he reserved a weekend at a farm hotel far from our city. A wonderful place. But I swear to you that I was already here, planning our moment. Our night had to be perfect. I bought beautiful lingerie in wine color, which was his favorite color. I waxed from head to toe, got myself ready, already imagining we would have 2 wonderful nights. I was really counting the hours. I was anxious. My friends couldn't stand it anymore because that's all I talked about. I was on fire, level 1000. We arrived at this farm hotel, got to know all the facilities, had dinner, talked, drank, and then came the blessed night. He took a shower, put on shorts, normal little shorts, went to bed. I ran to the bathroom to get ready, put on beautiful body lotion all over with that light perfume, fixed myself up, let my hair down, put on the lingerie, did all that preparation, and went to this man. I lay down next to him, put my head on his shoulder, but the man didn't move. My people. I was there like a gift right in front of him. We had been talking about this for days. He was aware of what I wanted. He was waiting for the right moment. Isn't this the right moment? Doesn't this guy understand what I want? And there I was, lying there just in lingerie on his chest, him stroking my hair, looking at the television. I started caressing this man, started running my hand over his chest discreetly. That discreet affection, so he would get the hint. And he just, there stroking my hair. Suddenly he looked at the television. There was a game on, and he even talked to the TV as if I wasn't even there. And I said to myself, today I'm not leaving here empty-handed. No way. I started thinking about this. Actually, I didn't say it out loud. I caressed, went from his chest to his defined, worked-out belly, and then I went down, reached his thighs, started massaging him completely. He was there still like a statue. The man didn't move, didn't react. I was getting angry, but I thought, no, calm down. He's going to wake up. He's going to understand. Until I took my hand to his manhood, and to my surprise, even after caressing this man so much in a more spicy way, when I put my hand on his private parts, can you believe it was soft? Soft, looking like gelatin, like soft eggs. Everything down there was soft. And I started moving that thing, stimulating it to try to wake up that little bird, and the thing wouldn't get up. His little bird wouldn't take flight at all. I moved. I made those movements. I tried everything, and I was already getting embarrassed. But here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. And trust me, you need to hear what happened next, because it completely changed my perspective on relationships and honesty. He got a little uncomfortable. There was a moment when he simply said to me, "Honey, let me go to the bathroom. I'm a little pressed." I thought, he must be dying to urinate, and that's why the thing isn't working. I don't know. I started bringing some justifications, and he went to the bathroom. Took a while in there. When he went to the bathroom, he turned off the bedroom light that had warm, very dim lighting. He turned it off, left only the TV on, so the room got a little dark. So he was in the bathroom for a long time. I thought, my God, what's happening? Is he trying to animate his little bird? Didn't he find me attractive? Am I not his type? Didn't he like seeing me in this lingerie? But my body, thank God, is an attractive body. It's a beautiful body. The problem was with him, not with me. And I started getting very worried anyway. After almost 20 minutes, the guy came back from the bathroom. By this time, I was already a little embarrassed. I had already put the sheet over my body. I was already lying on my side, and I was facing away from his direction. He came from the bathroom, lay down behind me, spooned with me, and he was at this time without his shorts, without his underwear, whatever that thing is called. He was naked, and he started trying to rub against my butt, but I felt the thing was still soft, but I thought he was trying. I started helping this man, started moving, started gyrating, started moving around, started putting my hands there again. Then I turned to him. We started kissing madly, that delicious kiss of his, that good kiss, but it was no use. He continued with his tool soft. Nothing changed. I understood that thing wasn't going to rise up. No way, no how. I lowered the level. I started kissing this man's whole body. I started going down to his manhood, and even me taking my mouth there. It was no use. I never saw anything like this. It seems like a lie, but not even my mouth there could make his tool rise up. There was no way, no secret, no magic that would do anything. And then I stopped the situation. I lay down already frustrated, wanting to say 1,000 things, but silence was everything. And that's when he started apologizing, and kind of sad. He started opening his heart. He started saying that he faces a problem for some time, and that he uses a medication to function, but he ended up forgetting to put the blessed medicine that would make his little bird rise up in his toiletry bag. And without the medicine, unfortunately, he can't do it. He can't do it. He had already looked for doctors. He had already done treatment. Even though he's almost 50 years old, nothing worked for him besides the medicine. The problem wasn't with me. He was very comfortable. He desired me. He thought I was a very hot woman. But his manhood, his tool, seemed like it didn't talk to his brain anymore, didn't talk to his desires anymore. He even thought about not telling me anything, and seeing if the next day he could find a pharmacy with that medicine. But since we were in a more rural location, it would be difficult to find a very specific medicine that was made through a formula indicated by a professional. That's what he told me. And there, at that moment, inside I felt terrible. Inside I felt devastated. There I understood that I was going to be left without a special night, that I was going to continue climbing the walls, and that I was disappointed. But then I said to him, "What a shame. But are you sure there's no way to make it work? Have you really looked for professionals?" He said yes, that it wasn't my fault, but that he realized I was very excited, with a lot of desire, and he would do whatever was possible that night to satisfy me, that if I wanted, it was okay. I confess to you that I had already cooled down. I had never been through a situation like this. I was there with a man in bed doing everything, and the guy was totally impotent. Nothing could make him function. This is devastating for any woman. It's devastating. And as much as he talked to me about medicine and so on, for me I was thinking, my God, how am I going to be with a man who only functions on medication? And what if this medicine doesn't exist one day? And what if this medicine becomes absurdly expensive? I started thinking so many things. But deep down I thought, well, I'm already here. I don't want to waste the trip. I'm going to give him this opportunity to satisfy me somehow that isn't with his natural tool. Remembering that until then, my loves, I had never been touched by a man who wasn't body to body. I never had toys. Let's use more popular language here. I never had toys to spice up any relationship. No husband, no boyfriend in the past ever used any other tool besides his own. But if my older man's tool wasn't working, what could I do? I had to give him an opportunity. And that's when he took from under the pillow. When he took that long time in the bathroom, he certainly got his things from the suitcase and brought them to the room since it was dark. I don't know how, but it was there. He took from under the pillow a material, an artificial manhood. But this artificial thing wasn't flimsy. It was something that had the same touch as human skin. Must have been very expensive, actually. And this man started kissing me, started caressing me, started getting to know my whole body, did all the groundwork, went down there, made it happen, and suddenly turned everything off, turned off the television, all the lights, everything went dark. And this tool that he had in his hands, I think it had a belt or something. Suddenly he was on top of me, and ended up doing the job using this rubber manhood. At that moment, with my eyes closed, I didn't want to imagine it was a toy. In my head, it was his natural tool that was there being used. And I can't tell you it was bad, because if I said that, I'd be lying. He managed to make me see little stars. It was something very different. It was something very good. But the next day, he started pulling a conversation with me here and there, and he completed what he had told me the night before. He completed that he actually prefers to satisfy a woman using this rubber tool, that even when he uses medicine, he prefers to use this belt thing, that his natural thing isn't as big as that one, that he knows he does a better job using that, and that normally, his previous partners always liked this form of innovation. And with this in his head, this is how it should be, this is how it works. I just know that after this conversation, everything this man told me, this story about medicine, about toys, about innovation, didn't work for me. It didn't fit. First he said it worked with medicine, then even with medicine he likes the toy, which means every time would have to be this way. Is this how he feels good? Does his thing actually rise up with medicine, or was it just his little story to convince me? Anyway, I got very confused. I didn't really like this whole plot. I continued with him there. It was our weekend. On this second night, I didn't want to do anything. I preferred to rest. We kissed. We stayed there cuddling, yes. But something inside me screamed that I shouldn't move forward. Our trip ended. We each went back to our houses. He continued looking for me. I still went out with him 2 more times. But honestly, I preferred to go back to being single than to continue with a man who I'm sure would put me in very uncomfortable situations behind closed doors. And I'm a woman who prefers, the traditional way, if you understand what I mean. Today I laugh a lot about all of this. Yes, I've already told my friends. It's a story behind the scenes. But I don't want to go through this ever again. What I learned from this experience is that communication is everything in a relationship. If someone has limitations, conditions, or preferences that are out of the ordinary, they need to share this with their partner before things get intimate. It's not fair to put someone in a situation where they feel confused, inadequate, or deceived. I'm not judging anyone who deals with medical conditions or who uses aids to enhance their intimate life. That's completely valid and there's nothing wrong with it. But transparency and honesty are fundamental. If he had told me from the beginning about his situation, I could have made an informed choice about whether I wanted to continue the relationship or not. Looking back, I realized that those 3 months of strange behavior, of avoiding spending the night, of seeming disconnected during intimate moments, were all signs that something was different. But instead of being honest, he chose to create this elaborate situation that left me feeling rejected and confused about my own attractiveness and desirability. The worst part wasn't even the medical condition or the use of aids. The worst part was the deception, the way he made me question myself, and then the revelation that even with medication, he preferred the artificial option. It made me wonder what was real and what wasn't in our entire relationship. I understand that for many men, this type of condition can be embarrassing and difficult to discuss. Society puts a lot of pressure on men to be always ready and capable. But in a relationship, especially one that's heading toward intimacy, honesty has to come first. It's better to have an uncomfortable conversation early on than to create a situation where both people end up feeling bad. After we broke up, which happened amicably, by the way, I took some time to reflect on what I really wanted in a relationship. I realized that while I'm open to many things, I value authenticity and straightforward communication above all else. I want to be with someone who feels comfortable sharing their vulnerabilities with me, and who trusts me enough to be completely honest about who they are and what they need. This experience also taught me to trust my instincts more. When something feels off, when behaviors don't make sense, when there are too many unexplained delays or avoidances, it's worth having a direct conversation rather than making excuses or trying to rationalize things away. I also learned that it's okay to have preferences and boundaries. Some people might have been perfectly fine with this situation, and that's great for them. But I learned that I have the right to want what I want in a relationship, and if something doesn't work for me, I don't have to force myself to accept it, just to avoid being alone. The whole experience, while frustrating and confusing at the time, ultimately helped me become clearer about my own needs and expectations. It helped me understand that settling for something that doesn't feel right, just because the person seems good on paper, isn't worth it. Chemistry, compatibility, And honest communication can't be replaced by good looks, financial stability, or even kindness if the fundamental connection isn't there. Today, I'm much more direct in my communications with potential partners. I ask the hard questions earlier. I trust my gut feelings more, and I don't make excuses for behavior that doesn't make sense. This experience, as awkward and disappointing as it was, made me a stronger and more self-aware person. And you know what? I can laugh about it now because it's become one of those stories that reminds me of how important it is to be true to yourself and to expect honesty from others. Life is too short to spend it in situations that don't serve you, no matter how good they might look from the outside. This is a real story shared by a follower from another social media platform, and I want to thank them for being brave enough to share such a personal experience. Stories like this help all of us understand that relationships are complex, that communication is crucial, and that it's okay to walk away from situations that don't feel right for us. If you enjoyed this story and found it helpful or entertaining, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share this video with others who might benefit from hearing it. And please, leave a comment below telling me what you would have done in this situation. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Remember, we all have stories that have shaped us, and sometimes sharing them can help others feel less alone in their own experiences. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.